Yeah, I was up for that.
And it went to Woody Harrelson?
Woody Harrelson.
Do you hate
an
him?
up-and-comer. No, he's turns out, keep an eye on that kid. I think he's got the goods.
Welcome to Couch Surfing, the show where manly guests look back at their big roles, their little roles, and everything in between. I'm here with Nick Offerman. Nick, how you doing?
Good, Lola. How you doing?
Ready to surf?
I'm ready to surf.
Let's do it.
He's tacky at 120, pressure's 130, over 100.
Wow. Let's go right back to the very beginning.
Going back to the original. That's
Listen,
what we do.
I'm not aware of, I didn't watch every episode of ER, but I'm not aware of any other character actually lighting up a joint in the emergency room.
It was a joint.
It was a joint.
Not a mere cigarette.
And Maria Bello says, "Hey man, you can't light that thing up in here." And I said, "Okay, Maria Bello." So this was live. It was a live episode.
Yes.
And
The first one.
the first one. And my big takeaway, they rehearsed it like a play, all the way through.
Right. You can see the choreography.
And George Clooney was still on the show. So this is late, this is like 98 maybe, 97 or 98. And they had this big, a huge pot of soup going backstage. It had this maritime feel, like we were building a boat or something, but instead of a ship, instead of a show. And Clooney and I found ourselves eating soup backstage, and we said, "I feel like we're sailors." And we started singing "The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald" by Gordon Lightfoot. And the thing about Clooney is, people always say he's a great guy, everybody loves him, and he always remembers everybody's name.
Is that true?
It's a thing. It's like a great politician trick. So I saw him 7 years later at an Oscar party, and he goes, "Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald," and I was like, "Do I blow you now? How does this work, George? Do we step outside or, honey? I'll be right back. I've been Clooney'd." That was good soup.
Up next.
So, guess I'm finished.
Are you? Or are you just getting started?
Yeah. So you were Clooney'd and then you were Mulali'd.
I was Mulaney.
Yeah.
6 Ways to Sunday.
Uh-huh.
This is the first multicam sitcom I was on. I was terrified.
You don't look scared.
Oh, well.
You look very happy.
I had a good coach nearby.
Sure did.
I was really scared. I'd been there, I'd been to all these tapings, and I really admired how incredibly militaristically fast and sharp the show was. The 4 cast members, Jim Burrows, the director. Suddenly I'm on the show, and I was waiting to make my entrance with my plumber toolbox. Sean Hayes was standing by the door saying, "Don't f this up, Nick. Here it comes. This is your big, don't mess up." Is that it? Is that it? I was like, "Shut up. Sean, I swear to God, I'm gonna clobber you." But we all stayed together.
Oh.
Sean Hayes and I born exact same day, same year.
Really? What day is that?
June 26, 1970.
Nice.
Sorry, Sean, I just outed you.
Up next.
Not yet! Brandon with the flying team!
I was so excited to be on the 2nd episode of Deadwood.
You're comfortable with nudity, obviously.
I guess so, yeah.
Yes. So they didn't have to convince you to do it, or you were completely on board initially? How did that work out?
I wouldn't say I'm an exhibitionist.
Okay.
But
if Clooney's around.
if Clooney's around, it's a different story. But to manifest the vision of David Milch, the writer of this show, I would have done anything he asked. I just looked up to him so much and was so excited. This was I'm an unknown actor wanting to work on good stuff, and I get this really meaty, sort of dangerous role. And so, yeah, I would have jumped through a brick wall if he asked me to.
How did appearing on this series change the trajectory of your career?
I'd say it didn't.
Okay.
I mean, each one of they're each little chinks.
Right. Incremental
You
climbs up.
you make friends, like maybe a couple actors that are working more regularly see you and think you're okay. You sort of accumulate points until finally, you go to like cash in all the points you've been saving, and they're like, "You got the whole thing? Okay, here's your pizza." You have the appropriate points.
I've never heard a career described as a pizza. I like that.
Chicago deep dish
That's
from
right.
Lou
babe.
Malnati's.
All right. Welcome back to Couch Surfing. I'm still here with Nick Offerman. Nick, shall we continue?
No, thank you.
Fair winds and following seas.
And this is not a parody. This is very real.
This is documentary footage.
You are very serious about your woodwork.
I can't think of the name of the pier, but this is right over in Red Hook, Brooklyn.
That's right.
David Engel,
And
my
that is a-
bow paddler.
That's right. And this is a canoe of your own making.
This is terrifying.
Why?
Don't ever launch a canoe in New York Harbor. It's a terrible idea. This little bit is fine because we're not out into the weather nor the traffic path of the water taxis. That's the first canoe I built,
But not your last.
but not my last.
I can't wait to get my couch surfing canoe.
Yeah, let's see how this goes.
Up next.
These tiny islands off the coast of Scotland, where God's chosen elixir.
Ron. One of the most beloved characters on Parks and Rec.
Top 12.
Top.
Okay, see this shot?
Yes, I do.
We found this farmer and said, "Can we do a shot where all the sheep come over the hill behind Nick?" And he said, "Yeah, do you want to see the dogs or not?" We said, "Not." Meanwhile, our AD, who's running the set, he's just run back to the distillery to like get a walkie-talkie or something. So when he gets back, he thinks we're gonna do the shot. The farmer's like, did some whistling. The dogs ran around. He's like, "Go ahead." So I walk over the hill. The sheep perfectly follow me over. In like 14 minutes, we got the shot. Our AD comes back and we're like, "We're done.
We're done."
Steve. You missed it." To do that, we're in New York right now. So I'll try and say the equivalent. Like to shoot that in New Jersey, we would have like 11 anorexic sheep, and it would cost $750,000. We'd have 17 sheep wranglers.
Absolutely. That's exactly right.
That we like gave the farmer a six-pack and shook hands. And
All right, up
all
next.
we need is beef. The moment my daughter was taken from me,
How was this show pitched to you?
well, it was pitched appropriately. It started with Alex Garland, the filmmaker, wants to meet with you for a new show. So then it's a done deal right there.
Right.
It's like Stanley Kubrick would like to
Exactly.
photograph you for one of his joints.
And you're not like, let me think about it.
Yeah. Then I got sent the first 3 of 8 scripts. So then I was like so on board, and so there was never any question of like we had a wonderful meeting, Alex and I, and then I read the other 5, and I just think he's an exquisite artist. So is Sonoya, who I'm talking to here. She's the hero of our show. She's gonna knock your socks off.
She's fan. I've watched the first 2 episodes, and you both have blown me away.
Well, thank you. I sit next to her. That's my smart move.
No. You have some really stellar moments. I particularly enjoyed watching your character eat salad with his fingers.
Thank you. That I did work on that. I had a coach.
Do you always understand what exactly is happening? Because I found myself being both intrigued but also needing
to have a deep dive with my friend who is a quantum physics expert on this show.
Yeah.
And he was able to walk me through exactly what was happening at moments.
Well, two things. I think the audience will always have the gist.
Correct.
They'll always get the gist of what's happening. There's terminology around the real world of quantum computing that I've had explained to me by Alex, he's got it all in his head. He is a genius. I can wrap my head around it, but then a few weeks later, when like Kaylee Spaney's character talks about the different theories,
Right.
if you tested me on which theory was which, it all slips away.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.
You were fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for being gentle with me.
Devs is available now exclusively on FX on Hulu. See you next week on Couchsurfing. Bye.